Omiladun, the beautiful mermaid, was a student of Jobele Girls and Boys Secondary School. Her name was whispered across every classroom and corridor. She wasn't just popular, she was a phenomenon. In every subject, she came first, effortlessly outshining her peers, and her academic excellence was matched by her grace and beauty. Omiladun had the kind of magnetism that drew eyes and turned heads whenever she entered a room. In debates, on the sports field, in musical performances, there was no challenge too difficult, no competition she couldn't win. Her talent wasn't just exceptional, it seemed almost otherworldly. Yet, despite her success, Omiladun was lonely. She was admired from afar, but rarely approached. Many of her classmates, particularly the girls, felt a sharp sting of jealousy in her presence. They wanted to be close to her, to understand how she managed to do everything so perfectly. But Omiladun was in a league of her own, and they couldn't shake the feeling that they would always pale in comparison. So they kept their distance. The few who tried to befriend her soon found themselves engulfed in a shadow they couldn't bear, and friendships fizzled out before they even began. Still, Omiladun didn't let their coldness affect her. She walked with confidence, her head high, her movements fluid and poised, as though she belonged to another world entirely. And in truth, she did. Behind the sparkling intelligence and effortless elegance, Omiladun harbored a secret so profound that no single soul at Jobele suspected it. Omiladun was a mermaid. Her parents, Bankole and Biodun, knew the weight of the secrets that they had been carrying since Omiladun was born. She was their only child, a miracle after years of waiting and heartache. For decades, they had tried every medical treatment, every prayer and ritual, but no child came. It wasn't until they turned to the old ways, desperate for a solution, that they received the gifts they had long sought. One evening, years before Omiladun's birth, Bankole and Biodun ventured to a sacred river deep in the forest of their homeland. The whispers of an ancient river goddess had reached their ears, passed down through generations as folklore, but now the couple was willing to believe in anything. With offerings in hand, they knelt by the water's edge, praying for a child to bless their barren home, and their prayers were answered. Months later, Biodun became pregnant. The pregnancy was smooth and without complications, and when Omiladun was born, the family was overwhelmed with joy. But their joy came with a warning from the river goddess herself, one that echoed in their dreams in the months leading to Omiladun's birth. Your daughter is not of this world alone. Water is her home, but on land she will walk with you. Protect her. Do not let her be revealed to those who will not understand, the river goddess said to Biodun and Bankole. At first, Omiladun's parents took the warning lightly. Their daughter was a normal baby, or so it seemed. But as she grew older, strange things began to happen. If even a drop of water touched her legs for too long, her skin would shimmer, and then her feet would transform into something impossible, a tail glittering with scales like that of a fish. Omiladun was, without a doubt, a child of both worlds, part human, part mermaid. Bankole and Biodun were terrified of what this meant for their daughter. They kept her away from swimming pools, avoided picnics by the river, and made sure that she never stayed outside when the rains came. Birthday parties were especially hard. Omiladun would watch as other children splashed around in the pool while her mother made excuses to keep her dry. But why? Omiladun would ask again and again, her bright eyes filled with curiosity and confusion. Why can't I swim like the others? Biodun would smile, trying her best to avoid the truth. You are special, my darling. Swimming isn't for you, she would tell her daughter. This answer never satisfied Omiladun, but she was so obedient, even as sadness tugged at her heart each time she watched her classmates play in the rain or dive into the pools. Her questions only grew louder as she got older, and no amount of excuses from her parents could quiet them. It wasn't until Omiladun turned 13 that Bankole and Biodun could no longer avoid the truth. One evening, as Omiladun sat at the dinner table, she looked at her parents with determined eyes. "I want to know why I can't play in the rain. Why can't I swim? Why do my legs change when I take a bath? I am not a child anymore. Tell me the truth." Bankole and Biodun exchanged a worried glance. They had known this day would come, but now that it was here, they were unsure on how to begin. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Bankole cleared his throat. "Omiladun," he began, his voice gentle yet firm. "There's something we've been keeping from you, not because we wanted to hurt you, but because we wanted to protect you," he said. Omiladun's heart pounded in her chest. "Protect me from what?" she asked. Her mother took her hand, her eyes soft but serious. "From the world, from the people who won't understand who you truly are," Biodun said. Omiladun frowned. "What do you mean?" Biodun took a deep breath. "Do you remember the stories we told you about the river goddess?" Biodun asked her daughter. Omiladun nodded. "Yes, you said she blessed you so I could be born." "That is true," Bankole said, leaning forward. "But there's more to it than that. You weren't just a blessing from the goddess. You were a gift, a very special gift." Bankole hammered. Biodun's voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "You are not like other children, Omiladun. The river is your home as much as this house is. You are a mermaid." Omiladun blinked, her mind racing. "A mermaid? Like in the stories?" she asked. "Yes," Bankole replied softly. "Exactly like the mermaids you've read about in the stories." Bankole added. For a moment, the room was silent. Omiladun stared at her parents, trying to process what they had just told her. But how? Why? I don't understand," Omiladun said with so much confusion. Biodun squeezed her daughter's hand. "When you were born, the goddess told us that you would be different. You would be gifted, brilliant, able to live both in the water and on land. But the world can be cruel to those who are different. That is why we've always been so protective. We didn't want anyone to find out what you really are." Biodun said to her daughter, "But why can't I swim with my friends? Why can't I play in the rain?" Omiladun asked. "The reason is because if too much water touches you, your legs will change," Bankole explained. "Your secret will be revealed and people may not understand. They might be afraid. They might even hurt you," Bankole told his daughter with a worried face. Omiladun's eyes filled with tears. "So, I can never be like other kids. It is because you are special," Biodun whispered. "More special than anyone else, and that is something to be proud of." Omiladun sat back, the weight of her parents' words settling over her like a heavy blanket. For years, she had wondered why she was different. Now, she knew the truth, but the truth didn't make things any easier. Since the day her parents sat her down and explained the truth about her identity, Omiladun had shown a level of maturity beyond her years. No longer did she whine about missing out on swimming parties or splashing in the rain. She understood truly the gravity of her situation. Protecting her secrets meant protecting herself, and more importantly, protecting her parents. So, she embraced her studies with even more focus, pouring her energy into the one thing she could control, her brilliance. However, there was one place where Omiladun's restraints became a source of tension: the school's swimming team. Jobele Girls and Boys Secondary School had a thriving sports program, and swimming was one of their key activities. Omiladun's natural grace in every activity she participated in made her a strong candidate for the team, and many teachers were eager for her to join. "Omiladun, you would be such an asset," Mrs. Fadeke, the physical education teacher, told her one afternoon before a sports trial. "We've seen your dedication to everything. You are practically the jack of all trades," Mrs. Fadeke said. Omiladun stiffened at the word. She forced a polite smile, cutting the teacher off gently. "I am sorry, ma, but I won't be trying out for the swimming team. Why not? Mrs. Fadeke frowned, confused. This could be a huge opportunity for you. Omiladun shook her head firmly. I just can't, ma. I don't like swimming. From that moment, rumors spread like wildfire through the school. Girls whispered in hushed tones, twisting Omiladun's refusal into something dark and malicious. She thinks she's too good for us. I guess we are dirty. One of the girls, Bola, muttered during recess. She can't swim with the rest of us. It's because she's so perfect at everything else, right? Bola added. Another girl, Fisayo, a non-bully, snickered. Maybe she's just scared that she might mess up for once. Fisayo yelled. These whispers soon turned into something far worse. The jealousy that had always simmered under the surface among her classmates began to bubble over. The more Omiladun excelled, the more isolated she became. She couldn't walk into a classroom without feeling the weight of envious glares, and her locker often became a target for cruel pranks. One day, Omiladun returned to her desk after a break and found her notebook torn to shreds, its pages scattered like confetti on the floor. Her lunchbox, which had been on her desk, was upturned, its contents spilling onto the ground in a disgusting mess. The group of girls responsible stood nearby, giggling behind their hands. What is wrong with you people? Omiladun cried, tears welling up in her eyes. Why can't you just leave me alone? She glared. Fisayo, the ringleader of the bullies, smirked as she leaned against a desk. Oh, look, the queen is upset. Maybe if you weren't so full of yourself, we would let you be. Fisayo yelled. Omiladun knelt to gather her ruined things, her hands trembling. I am not full of myself, she whispered, but the girls weren't listening. The bullying didn't stop there. Whenever she went to the toilet, her classmates would wait until she was gone, then sneak over to her desk and pull out her books, scribbling insults on the pages or ripping them apart. No matter how many times she replaced her notebooks, they always found a way to destroy them. Each time Omiladun returned to her desk, it was like a dagger to her heart, watching her hard work fade and tear apart. Once, in the middle of a quiet afternoon, Fisayo the bully took things even further. As Omiladun sat, reading quietly in class, Fisayo the bully, who was chewing gum noisily, suddenly stopped, grinning as a wicked idea crossed her mind. Without hesitation, she took the gum out of her mouth and stuck it onto the pristine cover of Omiladun's dictionary. Oops, Fisayo the bully said loudly, feigning surprise. Looks like it slipped. The entire class erupted in laughter. Omiladun's heart sank as she looked at the sticky mess in her cherished dictionary. She tried to peel the gum off, her fingers shaking with frustration, but it only smeared across the pages. Why are you like this? Omiladun asked, her voice trembling with emotion. What have I ever done to you? Omiladun cried. You exist. Fisayo the bully replied coldly, crossing her arms. That is enough, she added. Omiladun thought of reporting it to the teacher again, but she knew from past experiences that it would be useless. None of the other students would support her claims, and the teachers would dismiss it as a childish squabble. Her stomach twisted with a familiar sense of hopelessness. The isolation only grew worse. One of the cruelest pranks came during a sports day. All the girls had gathered to change into their sports outfits in the locker room when Omiladun found herself singled out once more. She had chosen to change quickly in a corner, hoping to avoid any confrontation, but the bullies had other plans. Let us lock her in, Bola whispered to the group as they watched Omiladun step into a changing stall. Giggling, they waited until she was fully inside before sneaking over and locking the door from outside. Omiladun didn't notice at first, but as she finished changing and tried to leave, she found the door wouldn't budge. Hello? Is someone there? She called out, but no one answered. She banged on the door harder. Let me out! Please let me out! She screamed. But everyone had already moved to the sports field, and her cries were swallowed by the sounds of the games beginning outside. Omiladun's heart raced as panic set in. She slammed her fist against the door, shouting until her voice grew hoarse. But no one came. Hours later, when the sports day was nearly over, a group of students came back into the locker room to fetch their things. They found Omiladun sitting on the floor, tears streaming down her face. Her throat was sore from yelling, and her hands ached from banging on the door. "What happened?" one of the girls asked, genuinely confused. "They locked me in," Omiladun whispered, too exhausted to cry anymore. The girls exchanged awkward glances, but said nothing, leaving her to gather her belongings in silence. That day, something inside Omiladun broke. The constant bullying, the feeling of being trapped, both literally and emotionally, had finally worn her down. She wanted to tell her parents. She wanted to run home and cry into her mother's arms, to ask her father why the world could be so cruel. But she didn't. She feared what they would say, feared that they might pull her out of school, or worse, decide to move away entirely. No, Omiladun couldn't do that to them. They had already given up so much for her. So she bottled it all up. She would go home each day and put on a brave face, but inside, the weight of her secrets and the torment she faced at school began to suffocate her. The bullying escalated even further when Fisayo the bully, who had taken a special interest in tormenting Omiladun, found new ways to humiliate her. During their free period, Fisayo the bully sat at the back of the room, chewing gum again. Omiladun was focused on her assignments, trying to ignore the snickering coming from behind her. But just as she began to write, she felt something sticky land on her shoulder. It was gum. "Oops," Fisayo the bully said again, her voice dripping with mock innocence. "My bad," Fisayo said. The entire class erupted in laughter once more. Omiladun froze, her face burning with humiliation. She wanted to scream, to lash out, but she knew it would only make things worse. Instead, she sat in silence, letting the tears blur her vision. As she reached up to pull the gum from her shoulder, Fisayo the bully added in a low voice, "Maybe if you weren't such a lone wolf, this wouldn't happen." Fisayo mocked. Omiladun's fingers trembled as she peeled the gum away, feeling utterly defeated. This time, she didn't bother reporting it to any teacher. What was the point? No one believed her, and no one cared enough to stop it. The other students watched with a mix of amusement and pity, but no one ever stepped in. It was easier to turn a blind eye to the cruelty than to stand up for someone who, in their eyes, had it all. They were all jealous of Omiladun. The sun was shining brightly on the morning of the prize-giving day at Jobele Girls and Boys Secondary School. The parents, teachers, and students all gathered on the expansive school grounds, a sea of colors, as everyone wore their best outfits for the special occasion. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement and anticipation as the school's principal, Mr. Adebanjo, stepped up to the podium, ready to begin the ceremony. "Today," Mr. Adebanjo announced, his voice echoing across the schoolyard, "we celebrate the academic achievements of our exceptional students. It is a moment to honor hard work, brilliance, and determination," Mr. Adebanjo said loudly. The students sat on the edge of their seats, eager to hear their names called. Many had worked hard all year, hoping to secure their place among the top performers. For Omiladun, however, the day had a familiar ring to it. She had been in this position before, standing at the pinnacle of success, her name echoing through the walls and all as the school's brightest star. As the ceremony began, Mr. Adebanjo started calling out the names of students who had performed well in each subject. The first round of awards went to subjects like mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and soon the first name was called. "Omiladun Bankole," Mr. Adebanjo announced with a broad smile. First place in mathematics, he added. The crowd erupted in applause as Omiladun stood up gracefully, making her way to the stage. Her parents, Biodun and Bankole, followed closely behind her. Beaming with pride, they stood beside their daughter as she received her prize and a photo was taken. This was only the beginning. Again and again, Mr. Adebanjo called Omiladun's name. Omiladu Bankole, first place in physics. Omiladun Bankole, first place in chemistry. Each time, her parents joined her on the stage, and each time, the applause grew louder. Bankole and Biodun were overjoyed, though it was a bit exhausting to walk up and down the stage so many times. The principal called Omiladun's name a total of 18 times. She had come first in every subject that she had taken that year. At one point, as they returned to their seats, after yet another award, Bankole chuckled and kissed his daughter on the cheek. Omiladun, my star, do you ever get tired of winning? He teased, though his eyes shone with pride. Omiladun smiled, brushing back her hair. Maybe a little, she admitted softly, but it's all worth it. I worked hard, Daddy, Omiladun added joyfully, and it shows, Biodun added, pulling her daughter in for another kiss on the cheek. We couldn't be prouder of you, my darling, she added happily. The joy Omiladun felt was palpable. For a brief moment, all her worries about the bullying and her secret faded. She had earned these victories through her dedication and brilliance, and her parents' love and pride filled her heart. But while Omiladun and her family celebrated, not everyone shared in their happiness. Fisayo and a group of bullies sat together, their faces twisted in sour expressions. With each award Omiladun received, their jealousy festered deep. Can you believe this? Fisayo muttered angrily to Bola, her closest friend and fellow bully. 18 prizes? Who does she think she is? Bola scoffed. She thinks she's better than everyone. That is what. Look at her, smiling like she owns the world. Bola added. Fisayo's jaw tightened. Just wait until next term. We will show her. We will make her life miserable. Fisayo added bitterly. The others nodded in agreement. The prize-giving ceremony ended, and though Fisayo and her group couldn't stand it, they were forced to clap politely as Omiladun was named the top student of the year. As the crowd dispersed and students began heading home for the holiday break, Fisayo turned to her friends with a wicked grin. Let her enjoy a little moment. She said, when we come back, things are going to change. We will make sure of it. For Omiladun, the holiday break was a much-needed escape from the daily stress of school. The bullying had been relentless, but for now, she could push it to the back of her mind and enjoy the freedom of being at home with her parents. Her favorite part of the holiday was always the time she spent swimming in the pool at their home, a private retreat where she could finally be her true self. In the water, Omiladun felt at peace. She loved the sensation of transformation, the way her legs would shimmer and shift into a mermaid form the moment she submerged herself. Her scales sparkled in the sunlight, and her tail moved gracefully through the water, making her feel weightless and free. As Omiladun swam, her parents watched from the poolside, a mix of pride and anxiety on their faces. She's so beautiful, Biodun whispered, her eyes never leaving her daughter's shimmering tail. Look at how happy she is. Bankole nodded, but didn't speak right away. His heart swelled with love for his daughter, but there was always that nagging fear in the back of his mind. I know, he finally said, his voice soft, but every time I see her like this, I worry. Biodun glanced at him, her brows furrowing. Worry about what? That one day, someone will find out, he admitted, that someone will see her in this form, and I don't know what would happen. The world isn't kind to those who are different. Biodun sighed, reaching for his hand. I know, I feel it too, but we've kept our secret for this long, and she's so careful. We can't let fear steal this joy from her. Bankole squeezed her hand, nodding slowly. You are right. She deserves to be happy. As they watched Omiladun glide effortlessly through the water, her laughter filling the air, both parents allowed themselves a moment of pure pride. She was their miracle, their beautiful, brilliant daughter, and nothing could take that away from them. Mom, Dad, watch this, Omiladun called, her voice filled with excitement as she performed an elegant flip in the water, her tail sparkling in the sunlight. Beautiful, my love, Biodun cheered, clapping her hands. You are amazing, she added. Just don't show off too much, Bankole teased, though his smile was wide. We don't want the neighbors to get curious. Omiladun laughed, her heart light. For now, she didn't have to worry about the bullies or secrets. In the water, she was free. The day of resumption loomed ahead, and Omiladun felt a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. A peaceful holiday had come to an end, and she now had to face the inevitable, the return to school, where Fisayo and her gang awaited. As she dressed that Monday morning, she briefly considered telling her parents everything about the bullying she had endured. She knew they would understand, and their protective instincts would immediately kick in. But the thought of them deciding to relocate the family or take her out of Jobele Girls and Boys Secondary School stopped her. Omiladun didn't want to lose the home she loved or disrupt her parents' schedule. So, she stayed silent. As Omiladun approached her classroom, her steps grew heavier. She braced herself for the usual jeers, the malicious whispers, the cruel pranks that had defined her previous school year. She had mentally prepared herself for whatever cruelty Fisayo and her group would unleash on her next. But something strange happened. Instead of the glares and insults she had expected, Fisayo approached her with an unusually wide smile, followed by a group of bullies. The friendliness on their faces was nothing short of suspicious. Omiladun, Fisayo called out, her voice unnaturally sweet. Good morning, my friend, she added. Omiladun stopped in her tracks, her brow furrowed in confusion. She had been expecting anything but this. Wariness immediately settled in, and she instinctively clutched her bag tighter. What do you want, Fisayo? Omiladun asked cautiously, glancing at the other girls who stood around Fisayo with equally fake smiles. Fisayo batted her eyelashes, as if hurt by Omiladun's suspicion. What do you mean, what do I want? Can't I just say good morning to you without being accused of something? Omiladun narrowed her eyes. This was clearly an act. Fisayo had never been this friendly, ever. You are not fooling anyone. What is going on? Omiladun asked Fisayo. Fisayo sighed dramatically, exchanging a glance with the others before leaning closer to Omiladun. Okay, fine. I will be honest with you. We've been thinking, and we need your help. Help? Omiladun repeated, raising an eyebrow. With what? She asked. It's simple, really, Fisayo said, her voice low and conspiratorial. You are the smartest girl in school. You always get the best grades. And, well, some of us aren't as lucky. Fisayo revealed. Omiladun folded her arms across her chest. So, what are you asking me for? She asked. Fisayo dropped the friendly pretense, her tone becoming more direct. We want you to let us copy your answers during the exams. Fisayo dropped the bombshell. Omiladun blinked, unable to believe what she had just heard. You can't be serious, Omiladun said. Oh, we are very serious, Fisayo replied, her smile never wavering. You let us copy your answers, and we will all do well in the exams. No one will bother you anymore. You won't have to worry about us making your life difficult. In fact, we will make sure no one bullies you ever again. Omiladun's stomach twisted. The audacity of Fisayo to ask her to cheat after everything they had put her through was beyond comprehension. I am not doing that, Omiladun said firmly. I would never involve myself in any kind of exam malpractice, she added. Fisayo's smile faltered for a brief moment before she quickly regained her composure. Omiladun, Think about it. This could benefit all of us. You won't have to deal with the bullying anymore, and we will all get good grades. Everybody wins. Fisayo added audaciously. I am not helping you cheat, Omiladun repeated, her voice growing colder. And I am certainly not afraid of your threats, Omiladun added. Fisayo's eyes darkened with anger, though she tried to keep her voice steady. You are really going to refuse this offer? She asked. Yes, Omiladun said simply, her heart pounding, but her resolve unwavering. I won't do it. Fisayo's friendly facade crumbled completely, her expression twisting into one of fury. You will regret this, Omiladun. You think you are better than everyone else, don't you? Well, we will see how long that lasts. Fisayo threatened. Omiladun held her ground, though her pulse quickened. Do whatever you want, Fisayo. I am not going to compromise my values for you. She yelled back. Fisayo sneered, her lips coiling with disdain. You think you are so perfect, but you are going to wish you are taking my offer. You will see. With that, Fisayo turned on her heel, storming off with a group of bullies. Omiladun watched them go, her heart racing. She knew Fisayo well enough to understand that this wasn't the end of it. She had just made a powerful enemy. Later that day, as the girls sat in their corner during lunch, Fisayo couldn't stop fuming. She replayed the conversation with Omiladun over and over in her head, each time growing angrier. Can you believe her? Fisayo spat, glaring at her plate of food. She thinks she's so perfect. She really refused us. She had always been a proud girl, Bola said, rolling her eyes. I knew she wouldn't help us. She's too goody two-shoes for that. Fisayo clenched her fist, barely able to contain her rage. We have to do something about her. She can't get away with humiliating us like that. What are we going to do? One of the other girls asked, leaning in closer. She's too smart for us to trick during exams, and she's got the teachers wrapped around her finger. Fisayo suddenly grinned, a sinister gleam in her eyes. I know exactly what we are going to do. The girls leaned in eagerly, waiting for Fisayo to reveal her plan. Do you guys know Caleb? Fisayo asked, her voice low and conspiratorial. Bola frowned. Caleb, the senior, is your cousin, right? Fisayo nodded. Exactly. He's handsome, smart, and, well, no one knows we are related. He's perfect. Perfect for what? Bola asked, intrigued. We are going to make Caleb get close to Omiladun. Fisayo said, her grin widening. He will pretend to be interested in her, maybe even make her think he likes her. And when she's hooked, we will humiliate her in front of the whole school. Fisayo added wickedly, their eyes lighting up with excitement. That is brilliant, Bola exclaimed. She will never see it coming. But wait, what if Caleb doesn't agree? Another girl asked. Oh, he will agree. Fisayo said confidently, I will talk to him. He owes me a favor. Trust me, by the end of the term, Omiladun wouldn't know what it are. That evening, after school, Fisayo found Caleb in the school's parking lot, leaning against a teacher's car with a group of his friends. Caleb was one of the most popular boys in school, and Fisayo knew his charm would be the perfect weapon to bring Omiladun down. Caleb, she called, waving as she approached him. Caleb turned, his brow furrowing, as he saw Fisayo. What's up, Fisayo? I need a favor, Fisayo said, glancing at his friends. Can we talk alone? Caleb raised an eyebrow, but shrugged, motioning for his friends to give them some space. Once they were alone, Fisayo launched into her plan, explaining everything in detail. When she finished, Caleb stared at her, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. You want me to pretend to like some girl just to embarrass her? Not just any girl, Fisayo corrected. Omiladun. Caleb's eyes widened. The smart girl? The one who is always winning everything? Exactly, Fisayo said, folding her arms. She has humiliated me, and I want to make her pay. You are the only one who can help me do it. Caleb hesitated, running a hand through his hair. I don't know, Fisayo. This sounds cruel. She deserves it, Fisayo insisted. Besides, you don't have to do anything serious. Just get close to her Make her think you are interested, and then we will do the rest. It is harmless, she added. Caleb frowned, still unsure. I don't know. Desire sighed in frustration. Caleb, please. I wouldn't ask if I didn't need you. You know I have helped you out before. After a long pause, Caleb finally relented, though he didn't look happy about it. Fine, I will do it, but only because I owe you. Desire grinned, satisfied. Good! Don't worry, this is going to be fun. As Caleb walked away, Desire's mind whirled with excitement. The following week, Caleb got to work on the devilish plan that Fisayo had concocted. At first, it was small gestures, finding ways to bump into Omiladun in the hallways, offering to walk her to class, making sure to sit near her in the cafeteria. Omiladun, who had few friends and no one she felt truly close to, found herself cautiously letting her guard down around Caleb. He was charming, attentive, and always knew how to make her laugh. It didn't take long before the two became friends. Omiladun was genuinely happy to have someone who treated her with kindness after so long feeling isolated. The warmth of having a friend in Caleb made her forget about the relentless bullying that she had endured. If only she knew what was truly happening behind the scenes. As the days turned into weeks, Desire and a gang of bullies watched with satisfaction, elated that their plan was unfolding so perfectly. Desire couldn't hide a small grin as she whispered to her friends, "It is working. Omiladun doesn't suspect a thing. She actually thinks Caleb likes her." Bola added with a chuckle, "This is going to be too easy." By the end of the month, Desire decided it was time to take the prank to the next level. She cornered Caleb after school one day, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "It's time to finish this," she told him. Caleb, who had begun to feel guilty about the entire situation, frowned. "Finish it how?" Desire smirked. "Get her to send you a picture, something revealing, like in her underwear." Caleb's eyes widened in shock. "What? Why would I do that?" Desire rolled her eyes as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "We will make copies of the pictures and stick them all over the school. Everyone will see it and she will be so embarrassed. She will never be able to show her face here again." Caleb shook his head, taking a step back. "I am not doing that. That is too much," he yelled. Desire's smile faltered, her voice growing sharp. "What do you mean you are not doing it? I told you to get close to her. This was the plan." Caleb sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah, but things are different now. I have gotten to know her, Fisayo. She's not like we thought she was. She's actually really sweet." "So?" Fisayo snapped. "I don't care how nice she is. This is about getting back at her. You can't just back out now," she yelled. "I am sorry, Fisayo. I am not going to hurt her like that," Caleb insisted, his voice firm. "I am done," he added. Fisayo's face turned red with fury. "You are really going to ruin this for us? After everything I have done for you?" "Yes," Caleb said, standing his ground. "I am not going to humiliate her. I actually like her. She doesn't deserve this." Fisayo glared at him, her fist clenched at her sides. "If you don't do it, I will tell her everything. I will tell her you only became a friend because I told you to. She will hate you." Caleb wasn't moved by her threats. "Do whatever you want, Fisayo, but I am not going through with this." Furious, Fisayo stormed off, leaving Caleb standing there, a storm of emotions raging inside him. He knew what he had to do next. The very next day, Caleb found Omiladun sitting alone by the school garden, a book open on her lap. Her face lit up when she saw him approaching, but Caleb's heart sank, knowing the truth would hurt her. "Omiladun," he began, his voice heavy with guilt. "There's something I need to tell you." Omiladun looked up at him, a gentle smile on her face. "What is it, Caleb?" He took a deep breath and sat beside her. I haven't been honest with you about why we became friends." Omiladun frowned, her smile fading. "What do you mean?" "At first, I got close to you because of Fisayo," Caleb confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. She asked me to befriend you as part of a prank. She wanted to humiliate you, and I went along with it. Omiladun's heart sank as she stared at Caleb, her mind racing. What? Why would you do that? I thought it was just harmless fun at first, Caleb said, his voice trembling. But I got to know you. I realized how wrong it was. I saw how kind and sweet you are, and I couldn't go through with it. I am so sorry, Omiladun. I never wanted to hurt you. Omiladun was silent for a long moment, her eyes brimming with tears. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Caleb, the one person who she had trusted, had been part of Fisayo's cruel scheme, but he was also the one telling her the truth. I don't know what to say, she whispered. I trusted you. I know, Caleb said, his voice thick with regret. And I will do whatever it takes to make it right. I care about you, Omiladun. You deserve better than what we tried to do. Omiladun wiped a tear from her cheek, her heart heavy. I don't know if I can just forget this, but I appreciate you telling me the truth. Thank you, Caleb said softly. Just be careful. Fisayo is still out to get you. She won't stop until she hurts you. I will be careful, Omiladun replied, her voice shaky. But I can't believe she would go this far. The next day at school, Fisayo and a group of bullies prepared to confront Omiladun, expecting to bask in her humiliation. Fisayo had been angry ever since her confrontation with Caleb, and she was determined to get the last laugh. As the bullies approached Omiladun during lunch, their small grins already plastered on their faces, Fisayo called out, Omiladun, what a fool you've been. Omiladun, who had been expecting this confrontation, stood her ground. I already know everything, Fisayo. Caleb told me. Fisayo's grin faltered. What? He told me about your plan to use him to embarrass me. Omiladun continued, her voice steady, and he also told me what you wanted him to do next. The other bullies exchanged confused glances as Fisayo's face turned a deep shade of red. So what? You think you've won? Because Caleb told you? You are still nothing. Just wait. But before she could finish, a dangerous idea took root in Fisayo's mind. The anger that had been simmering inside her finally boiled over. Without thinking, she stormed off towards the restroom, her mind clouded by rage. The bullies watched in confusion as Fisayo returned with a bucket full of water. Her face was twisted with fury, her eyes blazing with malicious intent. But Omiladun was nowhere to be found. The mean girls told Fisayo that Omiladun left for the classroom, and Fisayo immediately stormed off, carrying the bucket of water into the classroom where Omiladun had retreated to after their confrontation. Fisayo, what are you doing? One of the girls called after her, but Fisayo wasn't listening. Bursting through the door, Fisayo found Omiladun sitting at her desk. She marched up to her and, without warning, slapped Omiladun across the face. But before Omiladun could react, Fisayo lifted the bucket. Fisayo, stop! Please stop! Omiladun screamed after seeing the bucket of water in her hand. But Fisayo went ahead to empty the full contents of the bucket over Omiladun's head. Omiladun screamed, "No!" But it was too late. Her transformation was instantaneous. The moment the water touched her skin, her legs shimmered and began to change. Her feet disappeared, replaced by a glistening tail covered in iridescent scales. The entire classroom froze as Omiladun's mermaid form was revealed for the first time. Her tail gleamed with every color of the ocean, sparkling in the lights. The room erupted in panic. Students screamed, chairs toppled over, and within seconds, everyone was running for the door. The sight of Omiladun as a mermaid was too much for them to handle. Fisayo stood rooted in place, her face pale with shock. She had wanted to hurt Omiladun, but she hadn't expected this. As the students fled, Omiladun's eyes blazed with fury. Her entire body trembled as her mermaid form shimmered in the fading lights. A sudden thunderclap shook the skies outside, and the very walls of Jobele Girls and Boys Secondary School began to crack. The school gate shut itself, and no one, including the teachers and students, could leave the school premises. Omiladun's voice rang out, loud and filled with anger. "You have no idea what you've done, Fisayo!" Omiladun screamed at Fisayo. Lightning flashed outside as the school walls continued to tremble, and for the very first time, Fisayo felt real fear. Thank you so much for listening. If you want a part 2 to this story, guys, please comment in the comment section, "I want part 2," and share this video with your family and friends. Thank you for listening. See you in the part 2.